Greetings YouTube, welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble, and today we're going to be reviewing all of the blue cards for M21. Don't let this card confuse you. I wanted to put this card in the background because it looked kind of funny. I forget exactly what it is. That is an actual magic card, and there's Teferi, by the way. That's Teferi in a different time, or different style, or whatever. But we're going to be taking a look at all of the cards that are blue that are coming out very soon. There's also an early access event coming up on the 24th. Please tune into that, either my stream or someone else's stream that you like to watch, just to see some really cool new plays. Whatever people come up with is going to be exciting, I'm sure. So without further ado, I do want to try to get this done in like less than an hour, because I just did the white one, which was over an hour, so I want to try to get under that and average around, like, you know, not that long. Without further ado, I'm going to cover up the face and start with Baron. Really? Is that the first one? It is. Interesting. Okay. Spoiler alert, there's a crab at the end. So... we start off with a tricky one. And also look at what Teferi's like blowing. I'm like, look at this. I wish for you, Baron. Anyway, 3 mana 2/2 legendary wizard. When this card enters the battlefield, Baron Talarian Archmage, return up to one other target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. So notably, you can just bounce your opponent's things, creature or planeswalker. Pretty nice. So it's basically a 2 mana 2/2 with an unsummon or whatever tacked onto it. It's nice, except that it doesn't have flash. If this had flash, this would be a fantastic card. It does not, therefore it's gonna be toned down a little bit on my scale. And let's see, at the beginning of your end step, okay, so if you bounce your own thing, you have to draw a card. I don't really think that's the value engine you want. If you happen to bounce something coincidentally, but like, you know, basically you have to ferry, you minus on your own whatever, and then let's see, is it permanent? It is permanent, so let's see here. So you don't have to bounce, like you can bounce your opponent's thing and still bounce like an artifact if you want to bounce like a gilded egg, whatever, golden egg, golden goose, whatever they want to call, with Teferi or Omen of the Sea, bounce it and then replay it. Because it doesn't have to be a creature or planeswalker for the second ability, you still draw a card that way, which is nice, but I don't really like this card too much. I'm gonna go ahead and give this like a 2 out of 5 in... This is decent and constructed, not in limited, because bouncing your opponent's creatures is a pretty strong effect. So like 3 out of 5 there. But in constructed, I'm gonna give this like a 1. I don't really think it's gonna see much play. I don't really see a whole lot of value behind getting this guy doing his things. Cancel. Constructed 0 out of 5. This is just a reprint. I mean, we get it all the time just to keep it going, just to keep a baseline for counter spells, and then we base everything off of this if it's good or bad. But this is a horrible thing that you never want to put in your deck, actually. In limited, still don't mess with it. I wouldn't, like, you could put 1, and for that reason it's like a 1 out of 5, but otherwise it's not. We know what cancel does. Capture Sphere. This is a very, very staple card to keep in standard for limited purposes only. Standard 0 out of 5, limited 5 out of 5. This is your removal. The fact that it also, like, this sort of design started out with enchant creature doesn't untap during its untap step. Then it evolved into when this enters the battlefield, you tap the creature and you stop it from untapping. It used to be that like your opponent could just leave the thing untapped and just block for days, but then it started tapping it, and then eventually we put flash on there, and it just became a really nicely designed card. So there you go. In limited, this is your go-to blue removal. Pick it up where you can. Oh, this card. So you know how I said I wanted to keep this thing in like under an hour? Yeah, good luck. So Discontinuity. 6 mana instant, but if you play it during your turn, it only costs 1 and a blue. It only costs 2. End the turn. So I did a little bit of looking up with this card, a little bit of research before I just decided to do this review. And what this does, first off, when you play it, it exiles itself on resolution. So there's that. If you play it during your own turn, well, let me just say what end of the turn effects do. What end of the turn does is it takes whatever's on the stack. If there's nothing on the stack, cool. It just goes right to the end. It does not go to the end phase. It ends your turn and basically goes to the cleanup phase. So it skips by the end phase. Anything that says at the beginning of the next end step, this returns to the field or trigger this ability, does not happen. The end step does not become entered or exited. It just skips right past it. In addition to that, it exiles all spells and abilities from the stack. So, say ideally, maybe your opponent plays a Krasis and you have 6 mana. You play this. It not only exiles the Krasis, but it exiles the ability to draw cards and gain life off the Krasis. Similar to Whirlwind Denial or Tail's End. It's a very, like effect. Also worth noting, this always exiles itself. I think I mentioned that earlier, but just to keep that in mind, you can't just keep this and then put it in your graveyard and recur it back later on. The earliest you can play this sort of effect is during your opponent's upkeep. So if you have 6 mana, your opponent, okay, untap, upkeep, discontinuity, they do not draw a card, and you basically 6 mana time walk them, which 6 mana time walk is not time walk, but you know, you essentially that's what you do though. You get a free turn. Well, free. You get an extra turn. Whatever. So it really shines when you can do it during your turn. This is sort of like a counterspell in that sense that it exiles everything. However, it will end the turn, meaning that you do not get to go in combat if you didn't go in combat already. So either, oh, hello, video, okay, kind of froze on me there for a second. But anyway, so either get your combat done real quick and then play your things that you don't want to get countered. Also worth noting that this will exile the entire stack. So say I'm trying to resolve Teferi, right? And my opponent goes, oh, Frilled Mystic in response. Okay, I discontinuity. Sure, if they don't have a response to that, it's going to exile the Frilled Mystic. It's also going to exile your Teferi. So you want to use this in the right situation. I don't know, it's tough to say. Personally, I love this card. I think this card's a 5 out of 5 in Standard. I think this card is going to be amazing. I think the potential for this thing to get busted is so nice. Sure, you can't recur it very much at all, so it's not nice as a fate. But the potential for you to I just really want to have 6 mana, opponent untaps, I play this, done. Worth noting, this can also get countered. It's a spell like anything else. It doesn't, you know, it's not like some kind of Niv it can't get countered kind of thing. It definitely can. Okay, I think we've talked about this enough. In Limited, I wouldn't bother playing this card. I don't think it's that good to do that. This is not like a Mindslaver, which would be fantastic. This is, you know, pay a lot of mana to do nothing. I'd rather have a big creature. Okay. Enthralling Hold. 5 mana, enchant creature. You can't choose an untapped creature as this spell's target as you cast it, and you control the creature. So it's a mind control effect, but for whatever reason they added the restriction that it has to be a tapped creature, which makes it really bad. In Limited, I'm gonna say like maybe a 2 out of 5. It's still not terrible, but basically what that means is you need to get punched in the face first, and then you can take the thing. And then when you take it, it's already tapped, so then you have to wait to untap it, and then you can block with it or start attacking with it. So it's so very slow, but it can remove a threat. So that's why I'm giving it 2 out of 5. In Standard, it's so very slow, so 0 out of 5. Alright. Ooh, Frantic Inventory. Oh, this card. Oh, so if anyone's familiar with Accumulated Knowledge. Okay, so 2 mana, instant speed, draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. It's worth noting that this will not be in the graveyard as it resolves. So there's that. So you just play the first one, it draws you 1 card, 2 mana draw 1. But then it's 2 mana draw 2, and 2 mana draw 3, and 2 mana draw 4, and that's it, because it's just that. But yeah, you're not gonna have 5 copies. I guess you could have more copies if you're playing like, you know, a limited format where the number of copies is unlimited. But limited, unlimited. But anywho, I really do love this card. Blue is my favorite color. I love playing control decks. My favorite 2 color thing is Izzet. My favorite 3 colors Esper. So I'm gonna try to make this card work. I think it's fantastic, and for that reason, I'm going to give it in Standard a 4 out of 5. I think this card is so very nice. And I basically just give 5 out of 5 things to like actual like real threats and stuff. So, you know, although I gave Discontinuity 5 out of 5 because I think it's fantastic too. In Limited, if you have multiples, sure, go for it. It's not really like worst case 2 mana draw a card isn't the end of the world. It's not great by any means, especially when you compare it to Opt. 1 mana draw a card and Scry, but you know, when you get to 2 mana draw 2 cards, then you're okay. So, and the fact that it's an instant speed, you can just kind of like, you know, keep a kill spell or something. Oh, my opponent didn't play anything huge. I'm just gonna draw a card. Nice. For that reason, I'm gonna say like 3 out of 5 in Limited and 4 out of 5 in Standard. Okay, Frost Breath. 0 out of 5 Standard, but it's cool. Look at that Frost Titan. Funny little story, just a little anecdote, I guess. Or, I don't know, a little story. Is the very first time I ever drafted, I was cast a foil Frost Titan. To this day, I don't know what the hell the guy took as his first pick to pass me that card. I was very, very new at the game, and I didn't do well in the draft at all, but I knew enough to take that damn foil Titan. Oh my goodness. So Frost Titan has a very, very special space for me. But 3-minute instant speed, tap it to 2 target creatures. They don't untap during their control attacks on tap step. A little mini sleep effect there. Again, standard 0 out of 5. Sleep sees no play. It's not even really a thing. These effects are, you know, a dime a dozen. In limited, it's not bad at all, but you do have to have a threat behind it. So I'm going to say 3 out of 5. It can at least get you a few more turns if your opponent has some big threats. Like, okay, I'm just going to keep these tapped for a little while. And, you know, it gives me a turn or two to try to find an answer. And sometimes you do. So 3 out of 5 for that reason. Ghostly Pilfer, or 2-mana 2/1 Spirit, which is somewhat relevant, I think, in nearly every core set. I don't want to say that because I don't really know that many core sets, but there's quite a few sets where they have random Spirit, like, synergy cards for whatever reason. I don't know why Spirit's a thing they continue to, like, give support to. Maybe eventually in Modern or Pioneer. I think there's, like, a Modern Spirits deck, but maybe eventually there'll be just enough support for it that'll actually be like a top tier deck. At the moment, I don't think it is. So, you get a 2/1. Whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Okay, kind of expensive, but not too bad. But it has to, the fact that it has to be untapped means it was tapped somehow, means you probably attacked with it. And attacking with a 2/1 isn't great. Let's keep on. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Okay, weird, but it works off of escaping things, as well as adventures, you know, from Throne of Eldraine, if you know, are doing those sorts of things. If you're playing against Team or Adventures, I guess that would work for you. It's not amazing, though. What else? Where else can you cast a spell from not your hand? I guess it would work if you have, like, Experimental Frenzy, because you're casting off the top of the deck, so it works that way too, as well as Light Up the Stage. That would work because they're being cast from exile, so there's a few ways to trigger that ability. Okay, I don't hate it. The last one, discard a card, it can't be blocked this turn. Yet another, if you watch my white review, there was the Hallowed Blade Master, or whatever he was called, which had a similar ability, which of discard a card for a cost, no mana thing associated with it, and effect happens. In this case, this can't be blocked this turn. I feel like this is actually a fairly strong effect. In particular, Reanimator usually occurs in either black and white or black and blue, in either Orzhov or, you know, Dimir, or put them all together. Hey, you got Esper. Whoo, look at that. So if that becomes a thing, I don't think it is. There is a new Reanimator card coming out, but it's basically just Zombify, or maybe it's already called Zombify. Whatever. It's nothing flashy. It's nothing great, but maybe in the next set, which is some kind of Zendikar, maybe they're gonna have some weird zombies going on there. I doubt it. That's more of an Innistrad kind of thing, but who knows? Maybe they're just gearing us up for that. But otherwise, I don't think the discard thing is all that great. But the fact that you can discard and then get the card back, essentially, you know, get a card when it untaps next turn, is actually something worth noting. Whereas with the Hallowed Blade thing, he just keeps himself alive, which is cool. You're trading a card to keep this guy going, but So for that reason, I'm going to say in limited, this card's like a 2 out of 5. A 2-mana 1/2/1 isn't crazy. Don't count on your opponent casting spells from somewhere else. I don't know where the hell is going to happen in this format in a limited sense. But in standard, it is possible. I don't know if this would be a sideboard card for those reasons, because how often is that really going to happen? I guess you could sideboard it against Team of Reclamation. Not Team of Reclamation. Adventures. And you don't really see that deck so often. Unfortunate. Yeah, I'm going to relegate this to like a 1 out of 5 in Constructed. I think there is some potential there, but I don't really... I can't really rely on it. Okay, Jeskai Elderly. 2-mana 1/2 with prowess. Look at old grandma's got some moves. Oh, look at that. She's gonna kick you in the face. All right. Or just stab you with the freaking, like... Anyway, when Jeskai Elder deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card if you discard a card. So when it punches, you can loot. Otherwise, it has prowess, which is just you play non-creature things and it gets buffed for the turn. Pretty cool. There is always that balance when you're playing with prowess, which I think first came out in the Tarkir block, where you want to play the creatures that have prowess, but you also want to play non-creatures to trigger the prowess. So what's the right balance between creatures and non-creatures? I don't think that prowess is going to be like a huge thing now. They've made a few cards. They reprinted a few cards with it in the set. I wouldn't put my money on that being like a crazy good mechanic all of a sudden. This is not a Monastery Swift Spear. But it is a nice little card to see. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and say 1 out of 5 in limited. I mean, I can give it a 2 because it actually kind of adds an extra little punch to all of your combat tricks, all of your instants. So I'm going to say 2 out of 5 there. Because you play one thing, suddenly it's a 2-3 for 2. Okay, that's reasonable. You probably trade up that way. In Standard, I'm not going to say this is going to see any play at all. Wouldn't you rather just play something like a Crackling Drake? Or Riel? Or, I mean, Enigma Drake. Did that rotate out? Crackling Drake. Check it out. Stick with that one. Where it has other effects, and it also has like a crazy high power based on things in the graveyard. And it stays with it, you know? You know. Alright, Keen Glide Master, a 2-mana 2/1. You pay 3, and you give something flying until the end of the turn. Worth noting. You can do this to your opponent's creatures, and I guess you can like plummet it or leaf arrow it, or use the specific flying removal, usually found in green. It's a long way to get to a very simple thing that you shouldn't be needing to do, but it's funny when it happens, and your opponent's like, what? You're gonna give my thing flying and then shoot it out of the sky? Oh my god. It's like drone hunting all over again. Anyway, Standard 0 out of 5. In Limited, it's not that bad, because usually if you just give your big guy flying later on in the game, and just swing once or twice, that's enough pressure to either win or change the dynamic greatly and just swing the advantage bar in your favor. So, in Limited, it could also give itself flying if it wants to. So, I'm going to say like a 3 out of 5, but I would only take one of these in my deck. It's a good thing to have one of, but I wouldn't go for more than that. Library Larcenist. Larcenist? Larcenist. Larcenist. Okay. Not Arsonist. I was like, but nothing's on fire. No, there's an L in front of this. Also, Arsonist spelled differently. Okay, gotcha. 3 mana, 1/2. Whenever it attacks, draw a card. So it's nice that it doesn't have to connect. It's not on damage dealing. It's just whenever it attacks, you draw. But it's on a 1/2 body, which is terrible. So in Standard, 0 out of 5. In Limited, I did a little bit of thinking about this card beforehand, and if you couldn't tell, because I'm taking so long to describe all these cards, but I thought about them, trust me. I basically liken this to just a 3 mana draw card, basically, because the stats are so very, very low. If you attack with it, somehow, if your opponent doesn't have a board, congratulations, you got a card and you replaced it, and that's cool and whatnot. I would rather play something else for 3 mana. And 3 mana draw a card is a horrible effect. It's not even draw a card this turn, it's draw a card next turn. Ugh. Maybe you block a 1-drop. It's terrible. 0 out of 5. Across the board. Lofty Denial has a 2-mana instant speed. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. So expensive Force Spike is bad. Easier to play around Quench is bad. If you control a creature with flying, counter that spell unless its controller pays 4 instead. So it's either bad Quench or really good Convolute. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and say that you might see some of this. For Limited, I'm going to just go ahead and say 0 out of 5 here, because more often than not, it's going to be your opponent has to pay 1, and you don't really curve out as often in Limited, not reliably, so you can have 1 mana floating very, very easily. So no, it's terrible. In Standard, however, where if you're putting this in a Flyers deck, I don't want to say Azorius Flyers, because it could just be like a mono blue Flyers, it could be whatever kind of Flyers deck, where you will reliably have this thing be able to have the stronger mode. This is an amazing card. Pardon me there. This is like Mana League 2.0. This is fantastic. Now, whether or not a Flyers deck is going to be viable, I don't know. But for that reason, I'm going to say 3 out of 5. Not only because Flyers might not be viable, but because if you are running Flyers, this is not the card that's necessarily going to win you the game. You know, usually you want to have like a couple Rally of Wings, Empyrean Eagle, maybe some Fairy Miscreants or something, you know, other things, the Pegasus that can't attack alone, whatever, aggressive cards. This protects you. So you might just run on one of these just to throw your opponent off, maybe 2, but you don't want to have too many of these. You want to have more threats. So that's why I'm going to say 3 out of 5. Miscast. 1 mana instant. Counter targets instant or sorcery spell unless controller pays 3. I despise this card. This card is a 0 out of 5 for me both ways, and here's why. Not only is it worse in not only is it worse than negate really in limited, because it's already bad because you usually want to counter creature spells because that's what kind of fuels, you know, draft and stuff. That's how you win, by punching people in the face. You can't really draft a burn deck so well. I'm sure you can. I'm sure there are some formats where that was the way to go. Not some formats, but like some sets where that was definitely how you wanted to do it. But this isn't one of them. But the fact that this is not even negate, you can only counter instants and sorceries. Now, when you do get to do it, 1 mana and they have to pay 3 is pretty, you know, a pretty hefty thing there. That's why Mystical Dispute is a very, very strong card. However, this does not counter artifacts, does not counter enchantments, does not counter planeswalkers. Those are pretty big things that you're missing if you're going to try to play this card. A lot of things, like, unless you're specifically playing against like a Phoenix deck or a Prowess deck or something, I don't see this seeing that much play. Even if you are playing against one of those two decks, I would rather just play Dispute, because odds are there's going to be some blue involved in what they're playing. So, and the converted mana cost is basically the same. No, the mana cost is the same. I wouldn't say the converted mana cost is the same. And Dispute is more versatile because you can just, you know, pay 3, worst case, and counter whatever. So, yeah, I think this card is terrible. Next time there's something more appropriate for your skill level. Yeah, this is definitely below my skill level. Watch this thing be amazing. I'm like, wow, okay, oh my god. I hate it. Nope. Alright, Mistral Singer. 3 mana 2/2 flyer with prowess. It's cool. Nothing wrong with that. It's nice, solid, you know, solid, stable. Not really stable, you know. Decent, well-designed card. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing crazy. Nothing to report home about, but, you know, it's cool. The flavor text is kind of nice too, you know. It's nice little read. In standard, 0 out of 5, yeah. Normal, 0 out of 5. In limited, I give it like a 2 out of 5. I don't know how reliably you can trigger the prowess, and a 3 mana 3/3 flyer is a fairly good standard. Like a 3 mana, you know, 2/3 would be reasonable, or a 3/2. So having a 3/3 is just like a little above average, but a 3 mana 2/2 flyer not so good. So I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 right there. It's cool. I wouldn't mind picking one up. I would check and make sure there's nothing better to pick first, but there's a very real chance this ends up in your draft deck and you're not really upset about it. Opt. So many opts. A little time. You're really only going to play this if you're doing some kind of draws matter, which they've shifted a little bit. Used to be an is it thing that they were trying to get to work out with like Eldraine and stuff. Now they, for some reason, changed that to more of a Simic mechanic in this set. Don't know why, but they did. Maybe you're just going to run Teamer then and just go crazy and draw all the cards and get all the effects. Who knows? But Opt you really only see in, what, Storm? No. In Phoenix decks, or if they're trying to mill people, obviously, honestly, at like Drown Catacombs and stuff. But yeah, that's really it. Otherwise, you don't really see Opt at all. You don't really see... Yeah. I was gonna say you don't really see card draws. Like, no, you see card draw, but you see card draw in the form of Growth Spiral and Euro and Krasis. You don't really see card draw in the form of Opt. In Limited, where, you know, this is a slightly more playable card, I would give it like a 1 out of 5. I really wouldn't want to play this too much. It's just draw 1. When you're drawing cards, it's usually better in Limited to just draw multiples of things. Not drawing multiples of the same card, but like drawing more cards. It's a case where I would rather invest the 3 mana for Divination to draw 2 cards than the 1 mana to draw 1 card. Maybe that's just me. So standard, I mean, it's already there. I don't really have to... 1 out of 5, maybe you might see some play, but I mean... in Limited, similarly, like a 1 out of 5. Alright, I was gonna say Perused Whale. Yeah, the whale is just perusing, or maybe we observed the whale around it. So, Pursued Whale. 7 mana, 8/8. We got a big boy. When this enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 red pirate creature token with this creature can't block, and creatures you control attack each combat if able. And spells your opponents cast that target this thing cost 3 more to cast. In Limited, this is going to break stalled board states like you break a thing off of something else. I don't know what you break these days. What do you do? Like you break a fuse when you turn the lights off and on too many times. Ooh, like you break your leg trying to make a joke. I don't know, but anywho, this is definitely going to be an insane thing to deal with. It's going to be a game ender. 5 out of 5 for limited. Absolutely. Standard is too slow. It doesn't really do all that much, so it's 0 out of 5 standard. But this is an insane body. Like 7 mana, 8/8, and you can probably get to 7 mana in limited. Let's be honest here, it's not really going to be that big a deal. The fact that it also protects itself a little bit, sure, paying 7 mana, your opponent can probably pay the extra 3, but also means it probably takes up their entire turn to deal with this guy. And sure, you're going to give them the 1/1 that you're not going to want to block, so you're going to be taking 1 damage each time, but you can block it if you want to. And you can also block everything else they have to attack with. Fantastic card. In limited. Alright, Reign of Revelation. So clearly some, let's see, 4 mana, instant, draw 3 cards, and smell like patchouli. Okay, cool, gotcha. Oh, discard a card as well. I think this is not that good. I mean, again, this discard happening. We have Chemist's Insight in Standard. We don't play Chemist's Insight in Standard because we don't really need to. Same CMC, same mana cost. You draw 2, and then you can discard a card later on and draw 2 more cards. So that's arguably a better card that sees 0 play. In limited, this is okay. I would say this is like a 2 out of 5, maybe in the 3 out of 5 in limited, just because drawing 3 and discarding is not drawing 2. There's a difference there. You're probably not going to have too many graveyard activation things in limited. I doubt it, but the card draw there is very real. You probably end up discarding a land. Also worth noting that Thrill of Possibility, I believe is what it was, where you draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards, or discard 1 enchantment if you have one. That saw some play and then just completely left standard entirely. You haven't seen it for like a while. And it was never heard from again, huh? So for that reason, 0 out of 5 standard. But 3 out of 5 in limited. Like, I think drawing 3 cards is a relevant thing. Read the Tides. Read the Tides and talk to the hand, I don't know. So 6 mana sorcery, choose one. Either draw 3 cards, or return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Standard, 0 out of 5. Get out of here. Stop it. Don't talk to me. I'm not gonna read. You read the Tides. I'm not reading the Tides. You read the Tides. The Tides say go leave. Anywho, but in limited, this is not really bad. I would only play one of these cards, if any. But you can either, you know, if there's really nothing going on, it's just draw pass and no one has anything going on, then sure, draw 3 cards. Cool. If the board state's pretty stalled, you can probably bounce 2 of the cards and bounce 2 of the creatures and get through, and suddenly you're winning. There's a very real potential for that to work out. So this is pretty good and limited. I would give it a 2.5 out of 5, because you don't want to play too many of these, and you do need to have actual threats when this happens. You don't want to just play this, bounce 2 things, okay, next turn they play 1 or they play both, and following turn they're back to where you were. It's like, well, I got about 5 damage through, which is cool, but now what? So just be very, very calculated. Be very careful when you use this thing, choosing the mode you want to, or if you even want to play the card at all. Rewind! Oh, if I was clever with video editing, I put a little, you know, and like have some backwards audio, but no. So anyhow, if you want backwards audio, see the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. It'll come out eventually. Anyway, 4 mana counterspell, and you get to untap up to 4 lands. Worth noting, it's counter target spell. It can be whatever. So back in the day, this was seen as like insane. The fact that you have to have 4 mana up isn't too crazy, and then you think, well, I can easily have the mana available if I'm playing Reclamation. Yeah, if you're playing Reclamation, then what do you care about untapping lands? Like, I guess you can make it easier to play more spells and also be more likely to be able to get your Vantress to go off, but you're already untapping all your lands at the end of the turn anyway. What's it really matter if, you know? There are some very slim cases, and this could work out. It's not terribly likely, though. But if you have this with Nissa, or with Gift of Paradise, or Willful of Haven, see where I'm going with that, where 1 land taps for more than 1 mana. So you can actually net mana off of this. You could even potentially counter your own spells, but why would you want to do that? Because you're still losing. You're netting mana, but you're losing cards. So unless you're going to go for a crazy big thing, it's not really worth it. But there are cases where you will actually pay 4, untap 4 lands, and have like 6 or 7 mana at the end, which could fuel something else further down the road. So don't sleep on this card. In limited, I'm going to go ahead and say this is like a 2 out of 5. If you have other instants, if you don't have any other instant speed, if you don't have like at least 5 other instants in your deck, maybe even more, then don't bother. This is just a worse cancel, and cancel's bad. But in standard, I don't think we're going to be able to utilize this with the mana and everything. Pardon me. Like, Nissa is still being played, but not to such a high degree. Reclamation's already in standard. Maybe when Reclamation leaves, we could see something with this, but before Reclamation's out of here, I don't think this is really going to get too far. Alright, Riddle Form, a 2-mana enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Riddle Form become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying, in addition to its other types until end of turn. Or you can pay 3 and scry 1. Or you can do both, why not? So this is nice in the sense that it comes down early and it can be a threat later on. You can do this during your opponent's turn as a little combat trick suddenly, you know, oh, I'm gonna opt during your turn, and now I have a 3/3 to block your guy, and you feel pretty bad, don't you? It also protects itself from board wipes, which is kind of cool. I had that similar thing in, I forget what it was called. It wasn't Mirror March. It was some sort of like reflected raptor or whatever in a previous set. I don't know if it was a courier or not, where it had similar effect when you played a non-creature spell or whatever, it became a creature. But reflected raptor is what it's always going to be to me by now. By the way. Cool. But anywho, this is also notably though a very good way of triggering prowess. It basically has prowess become a creature, right? And the fact that it is itself a non-creature spell means if you get multiples of these, they just work off each other pretty well. And you can easily put these in a prowess deck to trigger prowess, and then they benefit off other things that are triggering that. So that's kind of nice. The 3-mana scry 1, I was gonna say 5, I don't know why 5. The 3-mana scry 1 is a horrible cost. It's very, very expensive to get a very small benefit, but if you're looking for a mana sink later on, okay. In standard, I'm gonna put this at like a 1 out of 5. It might see some play. There's a very, very slim chance that it might see some play. In limited, this is actually decent. If you have a decent amount of non-creature things, then there's nothing wrong with this card at all. So I'm gonna say 3 out of 5. In limited, 1 out of 5 standard. Roaming Ghostlight, for some reason. Is that like the moon? I don't know. I really, really like the artwork on this card. I don't know what it is. Maybe just balls. Who knows? Anyway, 5-mana 3/2 flyer. When Roaming Ghostlight enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target non-spirit creature to its owner's hand. Let's see. Someone who dies senseless deaths return as formless spirits, seeking answers where there are none. Oh, wow. That's really thought-provoking. That's deep, man. Deep in there. Oh, my head. Anyway, so in standard, get out of here, 0 out of 5. We don't really care for a 5-mana 3/2 with a single ability that, you know, it triggers once and then you have a weak little body left behind. A weak little jellyfish. But in limited, a decent-sized flyer that bounces something is not to be overlooked. Certainly. So I'm gonna put this in like a 3 out of 5, maybe like a 3.5 out of 5, a little higher, a little bit higher in limited, because this is a solid card. This can definitely win games and get you a few more turns and break a few board states a little bit, depending on how even they are, how stalled they were. Because even just making your opponent, like, you know, not attack with that 1 creature for a turn could get you there. And this flyer gets him on a pretty good clock. So yeah, I like that. Rookie mistake. Oh my goodness, this is like step up 2, step up 3, the plank. Anyway, oh, I found that funnier than I should have. Anyway, there probably is a step up 3 already. Like there's step up 2, the streets. Step up 3, the what's the opposite of the streets? The inside, the hallway? I don't know. Anyway, 1 mana instant until end of turn. Target creature gets +0/+2, and another target creature gets -2/-0. Keep in mind that because it doesn't take away from toughness, this is not a kill spell in itself. Also, you are going to want to have, you know, multiple creatures on the board. The ideal scenario with this thing is you have a couple, like, you know, 2/2s, 3/3s, whatever, and your opponent has a couple of those as well. Like 4 creatures, all the same stats, 2 on each side, and you raise the power, you decrease the power of one of your opponent's things, you raise the toughness of another one, and they crash, and both of you do survive, and both of those things die. That's the ideal scenario. So it can potentially be like a 2-for-1 that way, which is nice if it happens. It's also cheap, so it can trigger Prowess Thing, which is not too bad, not to be overlooked. Any 1-mana spell, not just instant sorcery, whatever, any 1-mana spell is worth consideration, just because 1 mana is so easy to come by, and the difference between 1 mana and 2 mana is actually very, very sizable. Just in playing things. When you... I'm gonna go back to Hearthstone for a second. A big way they nerfed cards is they increased the mana cost. Even in that game, where mana is handled differently, it was still a huge thing to just increase something's cost by 1 mana. So, that's just another way to look at it. But I think this is a decent card. I'm going to put this like a 2 out of 5 in Limited. I think you have to be careful, and you might not see the right situation where this will actually apply. And more often than not, it's going to be a 1-for-1. But in the cases where it works out, it's nice. And the potential to 2-for-1 there is there. Therefore, I have to give it some extra value there. In Constructed, 0 out of 5, I don't like it. That doesn't actually necessarily just kill on its own. You still need to have a creature that has enough stats to make use of this. You might only need a 1/1, who knows, but you probably need something a little more, like a 2/3. But yeah, 0 out of 5 standard. But 2 out of 5 limited, cool. Rousing Reed, look at that. He got so roused, he's literally flying. Like what, I'm roused. It's not a Rousing Reed. They should have actually just put it a Rousing Reed and just seen what people did. Anyway, 3 mana enchantment. Oh, so enchantment aura, okay. Better be good, otherwise 2-for-1's incoming. When this enters the battlefield, draw 2 and discard 1. Don't hate it. Enchanting creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. That, I think, is potentially the nicest, like the fairest way to say, like, you know, you get a card back for this, your creature's stronger, it has flying, even if they 2-for-1 you, it doesn't feel too bad. I think this is like one of the better designed auras in Standard, in the set, in the game, I don't know. It's a very, very fair card. Even if they kill it, I said, it's like not too bad. You get something off of it. So, for that reason, in Limited, I'm gonna put this at like a friggin' like 3 out of 5. Maybe even like a 4 out of 5. The fact that it buffs and gives you flying, and you draw cards and get cards and stuff, it's so nice. This shouldn't see play in Standard, but it might. I'm gonna go ahead and just go off a weird hunch that I'm feeling. I'm gonna say 2 out of 5 in Standard. It might be there. And in Limited, 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5, maybe even 4. You know what? 4 out of 5 Standard. Not allowed. 4 out of 5 Limited. 2 out of 5 Standard. Maybe I'll be wrong, and if I am, then I'll learn. You know what? I'll learn from that. Sanctum of Calm Waters. Oh, this is the blue shrine. Cool. There's a shrine for every color. This is the blue one. And they all kind of synergize based on the number of shrines you have. So 4 mana, they're all legendary as well, so you can only have one of these, one of each one. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. If you do, discard a card. So I like that it's optional. You don't have to do that in discard if you don't want to. So if you only have one, maybe you don't want to draw one, discard one, although it's usually just a good thing to do. This is not crazy, and for 4 mana, you better have another few shrines already established. Otherwise, 4 mana, and then next turn I can draw one and discard one. What? Why did you even bother with that? That's an effect that's worth like 1 mana. If that, maybe not even. I don't know. It's oh god, it's like tacked onto other creatures for free. Merfolk leader, talking to you. But anyway. If you're running shrines, you're going to run this anyway because you want to have more shrines, and there's only so much you can do because they're all legendary, so you can't have duplicates of the same ones, barring any sort of janky, memey shenanigans. But this is one of the least exciting shrines for me, so I'm going to go ahead and say 0 out of 5 or Limited, 1 out of 5 Standard in case shrines are a thing. I don't think shrines are going to be a thing, but 1 out of 5 is reasonable. Unlike that card. Oh, see the truth. Oh god, this thing's weird. This is a weird card from weird places that does weird things. 2 mana. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. put one of those into your hand, the rest in the bottom of your library, in any order. So that's basically Anticipate, but it's a sorcery speed Anticipate. Anticipate sees 0 play. Therefore, this, a slower one, should see 0 play. But wait, there's more. But wait, I already made that joke. It's okay. If this spell was cast from anywhere other than your hand, put each of those cards into your hand instead. Pardon me. There we go. Got to keep on going. So, this has the potential to be 2 mana, draw 3 cards, which is very, very nice. It's very, very, very nice to imagine that you play 2 mana and draw 3 cards. Even better than that, it actually gets around Narset because you're not drawing them, you're looking at them and then putting in your hand, which is a funny little technicality, but you know, it works. Now, how are we going to play this from somewhere other than our hand? I don't know. We can play Underworld Breach and escape it. That could be a thing. Probably not. We could Experimental Frenzy. We can get it with Light Up the Stage. Pardon me there. But there's not really too many ways in Standard that I'm aware of to make good use of this card, to make it more than a bad Anticipate. So for that reason, I mean, 0 out of 5 in Limited, I don't think there's any way to trigger it. And if there is, then it's probably very, very narrow and probably not worth it. If I'm wrong, then please tell me. And in Standard, oh god, this is such a weird card. Like, you really have to do like a deep dive into this thing, and the set's coming out in a few days, and I just didn't really have the time to do it. Okay, I'm gonna stop hemming and hawing. I'm just gonna go ahead and say 2 out of 5. Someone's gonna find a way to make it work, and I feel like that can potentially break it for like a week, and then it'll go away. Just like how that was a Song of Promise or whatever, the Underworld Breach deck where you just draw a bunch of cards and you end up playing Thassa's Oracle at the end and getting mana for no reason, whatever the thing is. That deck saw some play just because it's an all-in and then you suddenly win the game out of nowhere. This is probably going to be part of a very similar, if not the same deck. And then it'll never be heard from again. Maybe in older formats where it's easier to play things from, like, you know, not your hand, but I don't think this one. Okay, Shacklegeist. A 2 mana 2/2 flying spirit. Can block only creatures with flying. That's fine, you're probably just going to be attacking with it anyway. I mean, 2 mana 2/2 flyer seems nice. And you can also tap 2 untapped spirits you control to tap target creature you don't control. So like I said, some more spirit synergy, which they just kind of put into sets here and there because they can, because I guess spirits linger, who knows, maybe it's a flavor thing. But I like it. In Limited, like, it's certainly a good card, like 3 out of 5 there. Just a 2 mana 2/2 flyer is legit. It's a very nice card to have. It also works with just flyer synergies. In Standard, I don't really think you're doing much with spirits, so I don't think that last ability is going to matter, and for that reason, we already have better flyers in Standard, we're going to have better flyers in Standard, so 0 out of 5 there. But in Limited, it's a solid card. Just don't count on you having more spirits. Kaikar is not in Standard. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I guess you could use, like, Afterlife, because those are spirit tokens. But when's the last time we saw any Afterlife tokens? Like Safara? Not Safara. That's someone else. What's it? See the one? I forget the one. The angel that has the scales, the Orzhov one. Whatever. We don't see spirit things. Tithe Taker sees no play. And that was like the most playable Afterlife card. Anyway. 5 mana 3/3 Shipwreck Dowser. That is a Merfolk wizard. Hey, look at that Merfolk. Okay, cool. With prowess, because why not? I don't know. And when it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. In Standard, there's going to be some janky decks, some shenanigan things that play this, like a Scholar of Ages, I think it was another one, but added like 2, I believe, and also cost a lot more to play. And that was only seen in like jank combo decks. So it's a similar thing. It'll be fun. You can definitely make a deck that like kind of uses this a little bit. It'll be kind of cool, but I don't plan on seeing that being very competitive. In Limited, there's a 5 mana 3/3, and you can regain a kill spell with it, which is certainly not bad. It does say instant or sorcery, so don't try to get back your capture sphere, because that ain't gonna work. And the prowess is, oh, it's a nice little upside to it. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it at like 2.5 out of 5. It actually does have some potential there. Just if you have some good instant sorceries, sure. Namely, kill spells. If you're just getting back your opt, don't bother. It's not worth it. I don't think that's... Even though you can use that to later on, like, fuel the prowess for this thing, I still don't think it's really worth the payoff. Okay, worth the cost, rather? Payoff? I don't know. The ends do not justify the means. Alright, Spined Megalodon. I've been playing Sea of Thieves recently, and this one really hits me. Anyway. 7 mana, 5/7 hexproof. When it attacks, try 1. Standard, get out of here, it's useless. Limited, this is like a 4 to 5 limited. Big bodies with hexproof, get jobs done. And the attacking scry 1 is cool too. Your opponent can probably jump block it once or twice. I mean, a few times. 5 power will kill things. Sure, Colossal Dreadmaw is in the set, and this is 6/6, and these can just bump heads all day. And then you end up scrying one each time, although they still have a 6/6 trample that can attack. But then, you know, I don't know, there's a weird thing going on there with who attacks first in game theory. But this is a solid card. Yeah, this is a very, very solid top-end card that can win you a game. So yeah, like 4 to 5 in limited, 0 to 5 standard. Stormwing Entity. This is a bird. So it's an elemental, but it's a bird. It's a Nevia kind of? No, Nevia's icy. This is just a bird. Okay, 5 mana, 3/3 flyer. With prowess. This spell costs ultimately 3 less, so it can cost 1 and a blue. If you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. And what else do we have? When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. This could be just amazing, really? I can imagine playing like Opt or some sort of, you know, Thrill of Possibility, something that just draws you cards. You draw into this thing. Cool. 2 mana, 3/3 flyer. That's fantastic. In theory, the earliest you'll be able to play this is on turn 3, because, you know, you play a 1 mana instant or sorcery thing, and then you drop this thing down. You could try doing this with an aggressive deck with, like, you know, just shocking your opponent's face and then going forward, or shocking a creature or whatever. You get the idea, shock. The fact that they give it prowess, meaning that multiple ones still get, like, a benefit when you play other cards is pretty nice. And the scry 2 isn't bad either. You can try to set up future ones. But I don't think this compares very, very favorably with what we already have as Arclight Phoenix. I mean, maybe you can put both on deck, I don't know. Probably not. Maybe. It's possible. It's unlikely. So, and Arclight Phoenix sees about that much play. So, for that reason, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 in standard. I don't really think it's going to see any play, even though it's cool. I mean, you know, barring like the first week or two where people play everything, sure, it's going to see some play there. But I think once things settle down, it's not really going to see much. There are some cards which, like, off the gate, wow. Just like right out the gate, you know, they're terrible. Just pack filler, just limited stuff. This is not one of those. This one could get there, but it's still going to give it 1 out of 5 there. In the limited sense, though, 3 out of 5. If you have enough instant sorceries, 4 out of 5 easily. Because the 3/3 flyer is great. The fact that it can just buff itself is awesome. I should just say the fact that it has prowess is awesome. And if it comes out earlier, then that is bonus awesomeness. Sublime Epiphany. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Look, you ever just open your face and you're like Men in Black, but it's not, and it's just like carousels on top of carousels? Anyway. 6 mana instant speed. Choose 1 or more. And there's 5 different things. Worth noting, these always resolve from top to bottom in that order. So in the case that it matters, like, you know, you're always going to draw a card last as this card is resolving. If that's the thing. Anywho, 6 mana, a lot of mana. Let's see what we can do. Counter target spell. Okay, well, that's cool. Okay. Counter target activated or triggered ability. So completely would hose Euro, as well as, I like that the abilities are separate too. The sacrifice and the draw a card, gain the life, and you play a land is different, so you don't just counter the entire thing. It's like, well, you didn't draw the card and whatnot, but he's still there. Like, no, you can still have him die too, which is nice. All right, third option: return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Create a token. That's the fourth one. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, and target player draws a card. I like this card. I feel, I mean, so Day9 said this is basically the blue version of Casualties of War, which I understand that. It's also basically a safer version of Cryptic Command, which is fairly easy to see there. just because it costs 2 more, which adding 2 mana cost to something is like insane. Also, I think the abilities are slightly different. Yeah, because sometimes you can tap them and whatnot. This doesn't have a tapping ability. Also, if you're paying 6 mana to counter a Krasis, not the best, but then again, I did mention discontinuity could do that as well, and I was pretty hyped about that, so you would want to play this in a deck that also has creatures, because you want to make, you know, the most of everything. If you don't, if you only get 4 out of 5 things there, it's not too bad. You still counter something, super counter something, you know, bounce something, and then draw a card, which is a really, really strong effect there. You can nearly just counter your opponent's whole turn in that sense if they're playing a control game. If they're playing a fast game, good luck. You're not going to want to put this thing in there. So therefore, this is more of a control kind of deck, kind of card, where you want to put it again against Euros and Krasis. And is that pretty much it? Yeah, I mean, against those kind of cards. Maybe against like Cavalier of Thorns, I don't know, some other nonsense. But yeah, put it against control. So sideboard card in standard, I'm gonna go ahead and say 2 out of 5. I don't think it's gonna be like played everywhere just because it's 6 mana. But in limited, I think it's fine. Actually, in limited, I think it's a little bit better. I think standard 2 out of 5, limited 3 out of 5. You could probably get there. You probably have creatures that you can copy, and odds are you're gonna not really do too much of the second tick, but countering a spell, bouncing a creature, drawing a card, and making a creature at the same time is a very, very strong ability. Very, very strong effect, especially in limited format. So like 4 to 5 limited. Let's see, Teferi, Master of Time. 4 mana for a 3 loyalty planeswalker with a very, very unique passive ability. Also worth noting, I think there's like 4 different artworks of this, where the circles are slightly different, and he's like in different phases of casting the spell, but the poses are the same, so it's like, it's cool, but it's not, it's okay. Anyway, passive ability. This is a really big one to note. You may activate loyalty abilities of Teferi, Master of Time on any player's turn, anytime you can activate an instant. And you can do these like, you know, once per turn. So what we believe, what has come to be the consensus, I don't think there's been like a ruling necessarily out on it yet, is that you can activate it obviously during your turn when you would normally be able to activate a planeswalker ability, but also during your opponent's turn, you can activate it again. So it comes down at 3, but it basically goes up to 5, even though it only has a +1. So +1, draw, discard, +1, loot. Not too exciting. But if there's any discard stuff, like we've seen a few discard cards, don't really know why there's discarding, like, you know, effects in the set, but if there's any real big payoff for discards or having things in the graveyard, then this could actually be very, very strong. -3, don't know why they decided to put this word in here. Target creature you don't control phases out. So phasing is a very interesting mechanic that kind of is not intuitive, which is why they put in a core set, right? Where, and they have it in the rules text there, a little reminder text, which is nice. Treat it and anything attached to it as though they didn't exist until its controller's next turn. What that means, it can only target a creature, which is kind of nice, it makes it limited. Any auras, anything attached to them, auras or equipments or any counters on them, disappear. And then they return with those back on them. So if it had some counters, it comes back with those counters. They do not get reset like you bounce something. Like if you bounce a not a tireless tracker, a pellet collector to reset the counters on it, no, it's gonna come back with those counters. However, it does not get any exit the battlefield abilities, any effects that trigger when things leave the battlefield does not happen. Anything that happens when it enters the battlefield does not trigger. It just, you just kind of put your hand over it, put a little piece of paper on top of it, you're not there for a little bit. That's it. I mean, it can't block and attack, but it also, when it comes back, it is not summoning sick. It gains haste, even though, whatever. It's a very strange mechanic that was in Mirage, and then I was like, oh, Mirage phasing, yeah, you can see things come and go, but then they realized, you know, this is weird. And they eventually just turned into Flicker, which is not a keyword, but, you know, we're like a Thassa sort of thing. So, or Emergency Protocol is actually a more correct comparison. But anywho, there's that. It's a weird ability, but it's essentially the minus ability, protect your planeswalker. Cool, okay. And then the -10, take 2 extra turns after this one. That, if that doesn't win you the game on the spot, or within the next, like, after these 2 turns, whatever. Pardon me. Within the next, like, 2 turns after that, you should win, like, immediately or within the next turn or 2. If you don't, then this wasn't really going to help you, and you might just want to side this card out. In Limited, this is like a 5 out of 5. Just go for it, because you can just keep doing things back and forth and you're crazy. In Standard, I'm going to call this a 5 out of 5, because I believe that this new way of being able to use the ability on both sides of the turn, on both players' turns, is probably going to be exploited in some way. It probably is not balanced in the least. Let's see. And worth noting, so because you have to -10 as a big ability, the earliest you can use it is, let's see, so you play it, so we'll say you play it like turn 1. The turn you play it, okay, goes to 4, your opponent goes to 5, goes to 5, back to your turn, turn 2 of having it, goes to 6, your opponent goes to 7, back to you, goes to 8, they go to 9, goes to 10 on your turn when you +1 it, and then on your opponent's turn you can -10. He dies, but then, and this is assuming all pluses, right? And no proliferation. He dies, but then after their turn, you take 2 extra turns, then you take your regular turn, and then hopefully you win the game. Cool! Teferi's Ageless Insight. 4-mana legendary enchantment. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. Worth noting, this does count how many cards you draw, basically. So if you play Opt, you draw 2 instead of 1. If you played the Reign of Revelation, whereas draw 3, discard 1, you draw 6 instead and discard 1. It is not just like, well, you draw an extra card for each thing. Overall, it's you draw double the cards, essentially, which is nice. I don't think for 4 mana it's worth it. It could be, though. In Limited, this is basically useless, so 0 out of 5 Limited. Full out 0 out of 5 Limited. Just because you're playing this and another card to basically try to get the cards back. I would just rather play a creature or play what you want to draw instead. In Standard, this is extremely slow. Maybe you could play this in, like, Reclamation? Because you play this, you untap, and then you have some card draw abilities you can play afterwards, and then you draw cards and you get bonus things and you go crazy. Worth noting, this is only you, so you know, you can't use this to Expansion Explosion and have your opponent draw like 70 cards all of a sudden. If you have all that mana, it's only going to be the 35, but if you put it on yourself, then you draw a bunch more, which could be a thing. For that reason, I'll give it a 1 out of 5 in Standard, but I really don't think it's going to see any play. Teferi's Protege. Oh no, I'm at 57 minutes, 58 minutes. Oh, I only have a few minutes to be under an hour. Whew. Anyway, 3 mana, 2/3, you can pay 2 and tap it, draw, discard. And Limited is okay, it's like a 2 out of 3. Just a nice card to have in there, just to, you know, filter a few things, get a few junk things, extra lands out of your hand, but nothing crazy. In Standard, it's not crazy, so it's not going to see any play. It's going to be a 0. Teferi's Tutelage. This just reminds me of the meme where she has like all the trigonometry, all the math equations, trying to figure out like, wait a minute, what? This and that. And if today's Tuesday, that means that the other day, and then according to the atmospheric pressure and solar winds. Anyway, 3 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. The biggest thing with this card is that they added mill as a keyword. That's it, really. Worth noting that this is target opponent mills 2 cards. This is not good for self mill. If this had the potential to target you yourself to mill your own things and mill phoenixes and whispering chills and narc amoebas, that'd be pretty cool. That could potentially make that you know, the dredge deck like a real contender. You can actually like really see that on the ladder. But the fact that it's just your opponent mills 2 cards, yeah, people are gonna play around with mill decks to begin with, but I don't really think this is gonna get you very far at all. So 0 out of 5, both directions, both formats, both playstyles. Okay, Tide Skimmer, 4 mana, 2/3 flyer. This is Drake. It's cool. I like the artwork a lot. I think it's really neat. Whenever, see, look at that one in the background though. You're not skimming anything. Like at least the first one's like putting some effort into it. You're just like, I'm just gonna fly. You're a disgrace. Seriously. Shame on you. So whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures with flying, draw a card. If you have enough flyers in your draft deck or your limited deck in general, then this card is fantastic. And then I really do like this thing. The fact that you can play it, and if you have 2 or more flyers, you just attack at the same turn. This doesn't have haste, obviously, but you still trigger the ability the same turn you play it. Is really nice. So I'm gonna give it like a 3 out of 5 in that sense. In Constructed, there are better ways to draw cards, namely Fairy Miscreant just does it. This body is very, very small and weak and puny. Therefore, I don't really think this is a great card. So 0 out of 5 in Constructed, but 3 out of 5 in Limited. Solarian Kraken. Oh my, look at that Kraken. Look at this like eyeball though. It's looking like I just want to learn. I just want the knowledge. Anyway. So 6 mana, 4/6. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1. When you do, you may tap or untap target creature. It's cool, I guess. I mean, you might want to have like one of these in your limited deck. If you, standard 0 out of 5, get out of here. But in limited, like you can get away with 1 just because it has a big body. And sure, beginning of your turn, you could tap a creature, which is neat. It's nice. It's not bad. Keep something tapped for a little bit. And maybe if you play your Ops or your Rain of Revelations or whatever, you can pay more mana and, you know, tap more things, and that's pretty cool. If you have a deck geared towards it, that's nice. I'm gonna say like a 2.5, like 3 out of 5 for that, just because it has a big body. Not really so much for the effect. If you can make some use out of it, 3 out of 5. If not really, then 2.5 out of 5. Alright, Tome Anima. Guess where that tome's going? Directly up the Anima. Anyway, 4 mana, 3/3. It's a spirit, so spirit synergy there, I guess, for whatever it's worth. Can't be blocked as long as you draw 2 or more cards this turn. I hate it. I don't like it. I want to say 0 out of 5 in Constructed easily. 1 out of 5 limited. It's still a 4 mana. It's still a 3/3. For 4 mana, it's pretty damn bad, but it's 3/3 is like somewhat decent stats. You can live off that, I guess. You could probably get it to trade with something at some point in your life. In your life, wow. Unsubstantiate. Unsubstantiate. That's what I feel about this card. It's very unsubstantial. Partially because it's a spirit and you probably just go right through it. Anyway, 2 mana instant speed, return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. So this one is another one that got a lot of attention. Because Aether Gust is a very, very strong card. And it sees regular play in standard. It's like 5 out of 5 standard playable, right? However, this is very similar, the same converted mana cost, and it has the same thing where you return a spell somewhere or a creature. Unfortunately, unlike Aether Gust, where it either goes your opponent's choice to the top or bottom of their deck, where if it's at the bottom of the deck, it's basically gone forever. You countered it, congratulations. If it's at the top, not only do you counter their card, but you kill the next draw, or you know where they're drawing next turn. You can either try to, you know, just deal with it later, or maybe that's all you do when you kind of remove their card draw for that turn. It can almost be like a time walk in that sense. But this puts it back in their hand. So if it's a big thing, cool, but they still get their draw the next turn. If they have enough mana, they can just play it again. I don't like this card. I don't like it. But it can do things with spells. I don't know. Teferi is still in standard. Therefore, all instants have to be taken down a peg just because Teferi exists. Horrible card design, by the way, Teferi. But that's the reality of the situation. Therefore, I mean, I don't see why you would play this instead of Aether Gust, unless obviously you're playing against something that is not red or green. And green is pretty much everywhere because Growth Spiral and Euro are cards. Red is also taking care of the aggro, so specifically, if mono white is a deck, maybe black doesn't really see much play at all. But I guess if Esper was a thing, that could be a thing there. But if mono white got really, really strong, there's a slight chance this could see play. But even then, mono white's going to be very, very cheap cards, very low to the ground, where you would rather just have a kill spell. You wouldn't want to get it back in their hand because they can just probably play it again the same turn. So in standard, I'm going to take a stand on this thing. 0 out of 5. I went over an hour and I'm not happy about it. And for that, I will take that out on this card. In limited, it's a 1 out of 5 because bouncing things still isn't terrible. And you can bounce anything or you can counter anything. But, jeez. You know, I was really close. Because I'm pretty damn close to the end. Oh my goodness, I almost made it. Anyway, Voldalian Arcanist, 2 mana, 1/3, tap to add 1 colorless mana. For the record, that is the diamond, the gray, not gray, the black and gray diamond is the symbol for colorless mana. Spend this mana only to cast instant sorcery spell. I don't like it at all. 0 out of 5 both ways. It's ramping, but it's not really ramping anything significant, so no, I don't like that. I do not approve of that design. Waker of Waves. Look at that big old mouth. I'm gonna eat you. He's gonna eat something. It's getting to his mouth. Okay. 7 mana, 7/7. Creatures your opponents control get -1, -0. So it's not gonna kill anything, but significantly dampens your opponent's board. And you can pay 2 and discard this card. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand, the other into your graveyard. In limited, this is like a 4 out of 5. I actually really like it. Aside from it just being a huge body, which is where it largely gets the 4 out of 5. The fact that if you don't need it, which is unlikely, but like, if you get to the point in the game, you probably want to play it. If it's early in the game and you need an answer, pay 2, discard it, look at the top 2, do your thing, use the other ability. The fact that it has that other mode is really, really nice. And the additional fact that when you play it, not only is it going to block something, like block your opponent's biggest thing most likely, but it tones back your entire opponent's board. So suddenly if they're attacking with like, if they had 4 dudes, that's 4 less damage you have to worry about. Yeah, suddenly almost have like 4 more health. And you can set up more favorable trades most likely. So that's a great thing there. In standard, it's not going to see any play, but in limited, 4 out of 5, definitely. Wall of Runes, it's a nice little reprint there from War of the Spark. You can recognize the Lazatep, zombie dude. Eternal, I think it is. 0/4 wall when it enters the battlefield, scry 1. Nice little ability there. 1 out of 5, I guess, in limited. This could be like the last pick if you really want to put something in there, but I really wouldn't even do that. Nicely, 0 out of 5 limited, tell with that. They keep giving limited, like, extra little credit there, because, like, well, if you have to play it, no, this card's useless. 0 to 5 both ways, get out of my life. Wished Coin Crab. Depends on how hungry you are, I guess. But it's a 4 mana, 2/5. It's a 1 out of 5 unlimited because it actually has a body. It's basically a wall. It's the wall crab. But, with in the rare occasion it pinches you, then it pinches you. That's where the 2 comes from the doop, doop, doop. In standard, 5 out of 5 easily because crabs are delicious. So, that being said, that is it. Unfortunately, I went, it took a little while to talk about everything. But considering, I really do like day 9 and he takes a while and gets things done and is very entertaining. Hopefully I'm on my way to that level. I'm going to say that. I'm not going to say hopefully I'm up there because I'm not quite there, It helps that he has his banter with the chat and there's no chat right here. This is me recording things. I can pretend like there's someone there. Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? There's no Jimmy. There was never any Jimmy. Anyway. Thank you for tuning in. Please, if you like what you saw here and you want to see more, I do have a Twitch. If you want to watch me stream, that's awesome. I'm going to be taking part in the Early Access Streamer event on the 24th. Really excited for that. If you didn't like me, but you still want to watch, please do. Just watch the content. Magic, it's a great game. I encourage everyone to just try it out. Give it a shot. And without further ado, there will be more videos posted up later on. I'm going to record those a little bit later because I'm tired, so I'm going to go sleep. And I might be wearing something different. I might not. Who knows? Continuity. Discontinuity. Blue card. 5 out of 5. Anywho, good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck.